What's up, guys and gals? Jared here with another nostalgia-packed synth score of a movie review. So everyone is pretty much high on 80s nostalgia right now, especially since the release of Stranger Things on Netflix. So what happens when you take that vibe and mix it with Stand By Me, The Burbs, and Disturbia? Well, then you'd have none other than Summer of '84. So does this movie stand tall in the realm of 80s nostalgia? Let's find out. So Summer of '84 obviously takes place in 1984, but goes to a small suburb in Oregon and sort of focuses on teenager Davey Armstrong and his three buddies. Davey is sort of a conspiracy theorist. He believes in everything. He has a wild imagination, and it just so happens that a news story breaks that a serial killer capturing or killing young boys is on the loose. Davey, with the help of his friends, take it upon themselves to go out and kind of discover, investigate, try to find this serial killer, and their main suspect is Mr. Mackey.
One bane's bad enough, but apparently we got like 7 banes, okay?
No, their neighbor, Officer Mackey. It's a full summer of running around and investigating whether or not Mackey is the true serial killer. Summer of '84 may be a victim of 80s nostalgia. There's a fuzz flying. Summer of '84 may fall victim to 80s nostalgia, but I really dug the vibe of this movie. A group of teenagers pulling off teenage shenanigans, letting their imagination run wild, while also just being a kid and playing manhunt at night. What these kids were doing felt genuine, and also the group aspect mixed with the theme of kind of this serial killer at large was really interesting. It sort of felt like the Burbs, Disturbia, Stand By Me, the Goonies, all of this 80s kind of nostalgia packed together in a blender, and Summer of '84 is the byproduct. Summer of '84 also had this kick-ass synth score that really complemented the film and added to the overall 80s vibe. There's going to be a lot of comparison to the synth score from Stranger Things, but this definitely stands right by it. Summer of '84, coming from the same filmmakers and directors from 2015's Turbo Kid, you can see where their love of 80s and this synth score comes from. Unfortunately, besides those few positives, Summer of '84 really fails to kind of establish itself or keep you interested in what's happening. The main through line of trying to track down this serial killer is really interesting, but the movie doesn't really raise the stakes to make it interesting, if that makes any sense. The movie starts with Davey thinking that his neighbor, Mr. Mackey, is a serial killer, but that's pretty much the whole film. There really aren't any big twists and turns that really make the plot that interesting. I love the vibe and idea, and I really think that this actually would have been better as like a 10-episode series rather than a glorified episode. I gotta say that the writing was another one of this film's weaknesses. It did capture the crudeness and raunchiness amongst teenage boys, but I feel like it might have steered too much into that. There couldn't be a full conversation amongst them without a pussy, dick, fart, or a your mom joke, and believe me, I love all of those kind of jokes, but it did feel a little too much at times. And this in turn actually made it so a lot of the dialogue felt wooden or not really genuine. It was more like, hey, you talk, now I'm gonna talk, now you talk, and back to me. Just throw some emotion or some oomph behind your lines to keep the audience interested. Lastly, the overall pacing of the film just didn't work in my opinion. I would say that the opening was great, but then when we get into about the middle of the film, it's just these kids running around doing teenager stuff, just them being kids, and it doesn't really go or progress or follow through with the main through line of trying to figure out who this serial killer is. And the last 15 minutes of the film kind of sort of wraps up, and it's just done like that, and it's not as satisfying or gratifying as it could be because the reveal is kind of abrupt. Overall, Summer of '84 is this cool 80s nostalgia-packed group of friends going around trying to solve this mystery, but it fails to really establish itself. With a cool overall vibe and a kick-ass synth score, but with the film unable to really make itself interesting, some lazy writing, and some rough pacing, I'd probably wait until Netflix to watch this one. Summer of '84 does have promise, but it fails to really stand out from like things like Stranger Things or what it's really kind of based on. So what did you think of Summer of '84? Was this the perfect dose of 80s nostalgia to hit the theaters? Or is this sort of just a clone of Stranger Things trying to cash in? I want to hear about it in the comments below. As always, you can find me on the social medias at Jared Buckendahl on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Stardust. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Until next time, I'll see you later.